Greetings and welcome to everyone. I am Valerio De Luca, a geomatics engineer and the co-founder of the Map for Future group. On behalf of the whole Map for Future team, I would like to thank the organizer of the Diplomacy Festival for inviting us to the 2020 edition. We have organized this panel discussion in which we will presenting our cooperation project called International Mapping Partnership Rome Hargeisa 2020. Italian and Somali cartographers we work together in Hargeisa, Rome and Bojale. We will enrich this presentation with intervention that will give an in-depth look at the past and present situation of Hargeisa, including technical contribution regarding the utility of modern technology in the geographic field. Let me introduce Mr. Andrea Tamagnini, United Nations former official and co-founder of the Forum UN-Italia, an association of former UN officials and other international bodies working for dialogue and development in Italy and around the world. Mr. Tamagnini, give your experience as United Nations Development Programme Country Director for Somalia from 1999 to 2003, and with particular reference to your work in Hargeisa, could give us some information about the international cooperation project carried out by UN by offering an historical vision of Somalia?
Thanks very much. Good morning. I would like to thank this opportunity for me to participate to the Diplomacy Festival here in Italy. And I am Andrea Tamagnini, and I've been working for 34 years for the United Nations, both UNDP and peacekeeping operations. And my duties was mostly in the field. I worked in Africa, I worked in Latin America and the Caribbean, in the Middle East. And an important assignment for me has been my work in Somalia. I was the country director for Somalia for 4 years, from 1999 to 2003. And I come to love this country, such a difficult duty station, such a difficult challenge, but it has been important working with the wonderful people that I met and working together with them to look at the struggle of the Somali people to go back to peace. So in particular terms, I would like to mention that during those years, we had a number of projects that somehow were accompanying the efforts of the Somali people to go back to normal, in a sense, after they had so much war and in a situation that was somehow unique at that time, of a country that had lost one part of its unity. They had lost the government, and they still existed as a nation. They had a seat at the UN. They had a seat at the Organization of Arab States, but somehow the unity internally was lost. Somalia was divided, as unfortunately still partially is today, in several parts: the south, the central areas with Mogadishu, the North Puntland, and the northwestern side of Somaliland. Somaliland has been the area that has been more peaceful and still is, where a lot of the work has been carried out with somehow in an easier way. And in particular, we were working on reestablishing not only in Somaliland, but all over, but the rule of law and security. We had programs to support the reorganization of the police. We were working at helping reorganizing the judicial system. We had an important program for human rights that also UNDP was following at the time, and an important mine action project, because Somalia was devastated by war for many years and mines were everywhere. On the other side, we also had a project, the UN was working with supporting the socio-economic recovery of Somalia. And in particular, we were accompanying Somali organizations and the Somali private sector and public sector in negotiating, often internationally. That was a very interesting program where we accompanied, for example, the exporters of livestock and meat to recover the markets in the Gulf states, because they had some crisis with some infectious disease that were controlled, but they couldn't certify their cattle and their meat. And so we somehow, together with FAO, and entered in support of the Somali authorities and private sector. At the same time, we helped the Awalas, that are the companies that channel the remittances into Somalia, to stay in business after the 11th of September, when there were the attacks in New York that were devastating, of course. And when the Somali remittance companies were seen as possible financiers of terrorism, nobody knew exactly where the money was coming from, but it wasn't coming from there. So we organized a program to go to the States. We coordinated with the American Embassy in Nairobi, where our office was, and we had a successful program to help the negotiations, support the negotiations of the Somali Awala companies or remittance companies with the American banks to stay in business, introducing a number of checks and controls and suggesting reforms in the way that the Somali business were making their own, managing their own businesses. It was successful. All the accounts were all reopened, both in the States, but also in Europe and in Australia, where there is also an important Somali community that was sending the money back. This was important because the remittances were extremely important for the families, for each family in Somalia. At that time, we didn't have an important, although the security situation was difficult, there wasn't a huge element of terrorism, but we saw the first signs that the first threats were coming in, and we witnessed that period. I noticed that now that fortunately the UN is back in Somalia, because the UN is based now in Mogadishu, and this is very important, although it might be a bit difficult for our colleagues to operate directly in several areas of the country, with an important security situation due to terrorist organizations that still operate, but then they're under control. And in Somaliland, we are the UN is still active, and we, the old people of the UN, we organized ourselves here in Italy into a forum, which we call the Forum-Italia. These are all former colleagues from the UN and other organizations, and we decided to put our experience to the service of our country and any companies or groups and young people that want to operate internationally. And we met with Map for Futures, and we connected them with an old project of UNDP that was doing topographical research and geographical research and work in Somaliland. And the two groups managed to organize a good, interesting program that we are still trying to support whenever necessary. So we are very pleased that this became a reality. Thank you.
Thank Mr. Tamagnini for offering us a precious opening background. Now I'm going to present the second guest, Mrs. Hilaire Carpen, Senior Political Affairs at UN. Mrs. Carpen, you held the position as the UNDP Head of Area Office of Hargeisa from 2017 until 2018. Which were the area of intervention of your office, and what were some of the success and difficulties that you faced? And in conclusion, what are the actual perspectives for development in Hargeisa?
Good afternoon, and many thanks for this opportunity. My name is Ilaria, and I have been working as head of UNDP provincial office in Hargeisa, Somaliland, as mentioned by my colleague. It has been an excellent and wonderful experience, even though during very harsh time, because 2017 has actually seriously hit Somalia and Somaliland with famine due to the climate change and the drought. We, as UNDP, have been trying to address actually key structural causes that could have helped the Somaliland for improved development. What we should consider when we talk about Somaliland is the fact that is essentially a same landscape in terms of problems and humanitarian needs than Somalia. However, the Somaliland is ready for development because security situation is better. So instead of, let's say, looking at Somaliland as a country affected by conflict, we can look at Somaliland as a country or a member state. It depends on the political vision, of course, but Somaliland is asking for independence. We can look with a development lens. And so it is through this lens that we identified, of course, the necessity to have projects that could work on water and how to bring an enhanced amount of water, increased amount of water to the population, which would benefit enormously. In that regard, there are two key issues to consider. Innovative approaches. And so we considered, for instance, the desalination plant, which were implemented as a pilot along the coast and could benefit a lot Somaliland. And then also GIS resources, because through GIS you can actually identify the water resources and eventually also indicate to the local population where the resources are. But you can also have an improved management of land, reducing also potential conflict, because as we know, of course, this is a key problem in this type of realities. We then consider definitely, for instance, the geoportal for Wajal, an incredible opportunity for the government, but also for the local population. And it could be used as a pilot project to then see to what extent GIS can also be further used for supporting the country. The government is very open to support for the international community. The level of capacity in Hargeisa is quite high, considering that several Somalilanders are actually coming back from abroad. So there is a consistent support from the diaspora. And it is then an incredible opportunity for enhance also the support for the population. We should also remember that Somaliland has a key geopolitical position, and Emirates are looking at it as a strategic location for trade. So this could be, of course, a positive element for peace, but could also be an element for destabilization, and it should always be considered. Also, expertise on water from the Emirates could be combined with existing resources for improved development. Thank you very much.
Many thanks, Mrs. Karpan, regards your experience and for opening a window to the future of the region. I am pleased to now present my colleague, Mr. Giuseppe Maria Battisti, geographer, Geographic Information System Specialist, and co-founder of the Map for Future group. Mr. Battisti, you with the local group GCS created the pilot project of the geoportal of Hargeisa, starting from Wajale city. We would like you to tell us about the characteristics of the project, the process that led to its design, and the potential of this tool.
Thanks to Valerio, thanks to Diplomacy for this opportunity. I would like to introduce to you a brief presentation of Map for Future Group. The Italian group, MFF, is a laboratory of digital cartography established in Rome in 2019. Its main objective is to provide the consolidation of digital geographical services and support humanitarian action on field, mapping the world's vulnerable areas. After a number of projects in several countries such as Tanzania and the Philippines, in December 2019, MFF was requested by the UN mission in Brindisi, Italy, to work on a series of maps for certain areas of the Somali territory. This exercise was carried out successfully, and we closed successfully the mapathon in the Fusula Archeolab La Sapienza of Rome. In the first quarter of 2020, we have initiated an effort to further support the planning capacity of the Ministry of Agriculture of Hargeisa by collaborating with GIS and Cadastal Survey team GCS, a local NGO of GIS experts, to create the geoportal of Hargeisa. We have identified with GCS what are the priorities of Somali people, and we have drawn up a pilot project document called International Mapping Partnership Rome Hargeisa 2015. Italian Somali cartographer, we work together in Hargeisa, Rome, and Wajal. I express my due thanks to Forum-Italia and Andrea Tamaglini, its president, for the precious support in the realization of this project. The pilot project was financially supported by the donor Una Quantum Inc., an Italian association operating in the sector of promotion and training of the cultural heritage and geographic information system, which allowed us to buy very high-resolution satellite images with 50 centimeters of the ground resolution. It aims at further expanding this capacity-building effort in the field of land management, municipal management, and so far to be identified during the implementation of this pilot project. In fact, MFF offers and supports the establishment of a new digital geographic tool and methodologies in more vulnerable countries, as well as the necessary training needed for their use. The following are the objectives of the pilot phase of Rome Hargeisa partnership. First of all, purchase of satellite images. Second, realization of the geoportal of Hargeisa. Third, capacity building for the local GTS group. Fourth, realization of maps of land cover and change detection analysis. Fifth, organization events such Mapathon, Sustainable Development Festival, European Night of Geography, and so far here in Rome to raise awareness of issue and international humanitarian field. Thanks to the establishment of a geoportal of Hargeisa, this pilot project aims at starting effort to build a digital data network in Hargeisa capable of developing new capacity of public sector in carrying out planning, management, and territorial monitoring in Wajal. The opportunity of use this innovative planning tool, together with the training of Somali staff, to its efficient use, can contribute to the improvement of productivity in the agriculture field and increase the availability of food production in Wajale. Service in other sectors such education, health, of urban planning could also take advantages of this new capacity developed by the project and MFF. The team of experts of MFF in Rome and Somali technician of GIS and Cadastal Survey team in Hargeisa will closely work using internet communication platform to create the necessary local skills to independently manage the new online geoportal of Hargeisa. All this work will be possible accessing to GeoNode online platform, an open source database of geographical information data. We are realizing 10 different video tutorials to help GTS group in approaching this innovative technology and make them more confident and completely autonomous in utilize the geoportal of Hargeisa. We are actually carrying out the digital mapping of the municipal territory of the city of Wajale, known as land cover mapping, for the assessment of the urban environment. We bought satellite images of Wajale by Airbus, a French provider which provides satellite images, and we decided to compare the satellite images of 2013 with the satellite images of 2018 of the areas of interest to understand the changement of the urban and rural areas around the city. This kind of analysis is known with the name change detection. And now, the mapping of Guajale is an important task for its strategic position that connects Ethiopia with the sea. In fact, Ethiopia is a landlocked sea country, and all imports destined to Ethiopia from the port of Berbera in Gulf of Aden cross the strategic border city, Guajale. A direct link between Addis Ababa and Berbera has already been established, along with the commercial road that will end at the port. However, we shall concentrate on the design focus of the urban plan of Guajale. The Guajale municipal authorities are highlighting the need for further development GIS projects, and MFF intend to support it. In the last year, Map for Future has been included among the official partners of Humanitarian OpenStreetMap team, international mapping platform. In fact, in this pilot project phase, we are organizing events called Mapathon that are volunteering cartography workshop. The purpose of this meeting is twofold. First of all, involve the volunteers of the Italian community in the digital mapping action of Guajale city and other cities. On the other hand, raise awareness of the issue of 2030 agenda for sustainable development by mapping tools. In conclusion, I would like to thank our partners, UN Forum-Italia, Forum-Italia, GTS, and the diplomacy organizers to offer us the opportunity of introducing to you our project, the Diplomacy Festival 2020. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Battisti, for presenting this significant technical partnership. It is my pleasure now to give the floor to Mr. Mohamed Varsame of the Somali Group GIS and Cadastal Survey. Mr. Varsame is the head of GIS office, which operates in Hargeisa, in collaboration with the Ministry of Agriculture and other local institutions. Could you, Mr. Varsame, describe the importance of the realization of the geoportal for Guajale city and the considerable activities of your group, present and future, in the development of the second phase of the project?
And hi, my name is Mohamed Varsame. I'm coordinator for GCS, and basically Guajale is a border town between Somaliland and Ethiopia. One of the things we currently doing in Guajale with the partner with our group in Roma is to make the urban planning for Guajale and the municipality and draw a complete urban planning and town planning for the municipality. One of the things which has come up from the municipality on their request was to assist them in drawing the map of the city. Currently, they have a lot of projects they want to develop in the city. One of the unique things about Guajale, they didn't have previously any town plan. So it was a kind of difficult things for Guajale municipality and the local authority down there to draw a map where those projects gonna lay down and where's the main road and access to the market, all these kind of details. And land ownership as well is part of it. So to develop a kind of coherent project, and they invite us to come in. And one of the things which is encourages to work with Guajale and municipality was no previous actor or no previous NGO or mapping organization has done this work previously. And so we decided to go there and do the assessment. one of the goals on phase 2 of our project is going to be enabling Wachale Authority to have a map which is going to lay down the different layers, their infrastructure, and where they're going to put their assets, and in terms of development. And one of the things which is I need to highlight in this video as well is it's not limited to the Wachale and authority and municipality to invest in Wachale. There's the kind of Dubai port which is contributing in building the infrastructure and the road between Berbera all the way to Ethiopia, going through Wachale. So part of that project is going to be and helping them. So the municipality are going to receive a lot of help. So it's going to be essential for them to have a kind of a base map or a tool which is they can plan their resources much better and much well. And we're kind of grateful for the team in Boroma and their assistance and their technicality, helping us out and cooperating with us on this aspect. One of the things, one of the goals of this project is going to be showing the other municipality in Somaliland and the international community what this kind of cooperation between us in Hargeisa and a Roma team can deliver and to other municipalities in Somaliland. As everyone knows, Somaliland is not recognized, is partly declared as independent, but there's not much resources in terms of municipality, and like we think if we show what we can develop and how we can assist the municipality in Wachale, it draw and it will help and encourage other municipalities in Somaliland and in Somalia as well, and to take a part. And we're looking forward helping the development in Somaliland. And we think this project is going to be a contribution, and as well, we're going to lead to other projects being implemented between Somaliland and our partners in Roma. So we're looking forward, and I think the future is promising, because this is going to enable them, and it's going to be asset as a tool for better planning for the future, and every municipality knowing where they're going to put their resources and where they're going to need to invest currently. And that is infrastructure is missing. And some NGOs in the past has done a partial work in the capital city of Hargeisa without success. And so I think doing this project with kind of this scale in Wachale, we're going to encourage other municipalities, and we're going to be and a kind of great results going to show to other partners or NGOs or international donors willing to fund those kind of projects in Somaliland.
I express my heartfelt thanks, Ms. Barsame, for your intervention regarding the potential offered by the use of the GeoPortal. We continue to deepen the technical aspect in the geographical tools by introducing Dr. Lucia Luzietti, Head of IGEO's Emergency Service and Operations, and Dr. Chiara Pratula, Technical Manager for Copernicus Emergency Management Service Risk and Recovery at IGEOS. Greetings, Dr. Luzietti and Dr. Pratula. We begin with you the more technical interventions of this panel discussion on skills, resources, and services in the satellite monitoring and geospatial analysis field. In particular, I ask you for an overview of the importance of satellite data and IGEO service in support of map updating in standard emergency condition.
Good morning, and thank you for your invitation. So to answer to your question, for sure, the satellite data are crucial in the geoinformation domain. In particular, satellite images are excellent data sources for map updating activities, both in standard and emergency conditions, because these allow to extract very detailed reference data sets, so settlements, infrastructure, transportation networks, with a resolution up to 30 centimeters nowadays. So this is very useful for risk analysis in emergency preparedness phases. Also, these kind of products allow to locate the most exposed areas to natural disasters and phenomena such as flood, coast erosion. In particular, it's important to highlight the fact that today we can exploit also open data. That means satellite data which are available to everyone. For example, it's highly used Sentinel-2 satellite, which provides optical images, which are used for example, for link cover update. And there are actually several techniques that we can use to extract information from optical images, but often we rely on the experience of expert image analysts. But we have also to say that the artificial intelligence component is increasing and speeding up the availability of data extracted in an automatic way from satellite images. For emergency events, the satellite data allow to acquire information on the affected areas and the magnitude of the event all over the world with a sub-daily frequency and over big areas. Thanks to the huge amount of Earth observation missions deploying different type of sensors for Earth observations. And thanks to the high resolution of the data, it is possible in few hours to provide the users with a very detailed damage assessment of infrastructures, buildings, and also at the same time to provide an overview of the impact of the event over big areas. And this is essential during the emergency management supporting the activity in the field. Another valuable contribution is given by Sar Sensors, which are synthetic aperture radar, because these are able to acquire images in all the light and weather conditions. So particularly useful are these kind of sensors during flood events, for example, or also these are used for assessing the damages after, for example, earthquakes, thanks to a particular technique that is called interferometry, which is basically based on the comparison of a pre and post-event acquisition. Our daily work here at IGEOS regards the exploitation of satellite data for several applications. And in particular, we are a service provider for the Copernicus Emergency Management Services, rapid mapping and risk recovery. And here we have also my colleague Lucia Luzzetti, who is responsible for the emergency team. So I will leave the word to her to explain a bit our activity here in IGEOS and show some example of the work we do every day. Thank you.
We prepared some example that we provided for the Copernicus EMS rapid mapping service and also for the risk and recovery mapping service. This is an application, a very recent application for flood for the cyclone Janos in Greece, where we analyzed some Sentinel-1 and Sentinel-2 data over a quite large area of interest, and we extracted information concerning the flooded area. This is a typical analysis that we provide when the user asks an overview of the impact of the flood in this case. But it's possible, thanks to the use of very high resolution optical data, also to provide a very detailed analysis. In this case, indeed, we are again in Greece. We provided a detailed damage assessment, and we use it for the analysis in order to improve the accuracy of the analysis provided. Also, social media data. Social media data, in principle, when we work in an emergency, are the first data available and are very useful to understand the impact of the event and also to select the best sensor to finalize the rapid mapping production. This is another application from the Copernicus EMS Risk and Recovery Mapping Standard Service over Beirut. So again, this is a very detailed damage assessment based on very high resolution optical data, where we analyzed each building, the status of each road, and at the same time, we used this information in order to extract very useful data concerning the affected population. So this is another application that show the importance of satellite data during the emergency phase, but also during the recovery phase after a disaster.
Thank you, Dr. Luzietti and Dr. Pradula, for your contribution about your activity at IGEOS and the need for knowledge of the geospatial information synonymous with development. We continue with the technical intervention with Mr. Giacomo Cozzolino, international consultant at UNDP from the company SETIN. Greetings, Mr. Cozzolino. Let me begin by asking if you could make light on the technical skills needed in the cooperation field for development. In particular, I would like to ask if you could share with us your experience in the use of geographic information system as an important element to assess local resources to be monitored, possibly by tools such as land cover and land use.
Good afternoon, everybody, and thanks for this opportunity. Well, the most important skills in the field of technical cooperation in the international context can be grouped in three main clusters. First of all, the technical skills. For instance, in my case, for my job, the sound competencies in the preparation of technical reports or development of specific instruments. In my case, for instance, protected areas management plans or strategic plans. And also the use of GIS. Second cluster are languages. For my experience, at least English, but in many cases, a second language. For instance, I speak and work in English and Portuguese. Then it's important an ability to adapt ourselves to different contexts, cultures, and practical situations. I work as international consultant since year. I work in also in Guinea-Bissau, a country located in West Africa. In this country, national policies, programs, and plans make a special call for valuation of natural resources in order to understand their effective values and make decision makers aware about the concrete protection measures the natural resources needs. Guinea-Bissau has implemented and is implementing many projects with the support of many international partners like, for instance, European Union, Italian cooperation also, and United Nations agencies. One of the main issues is that the actions planned in these projects are not adequately supported by the practical procedures, operational tools, and working methods needed for an integrated implementation of the actions. Between practical procedures and practical tools, GIS should and could assume a significant role, mostly in the environmental project. Some national institutions in Guinea-Bissau have their own GIS, but all the systems should be better improved in terms of equipment, knowledge, skills of dedicated human resources, data interchange, data update, etc. And in some projects, a GIS component is going to be developed. For instance, UNDP, the United Nations Development Program, and the Ministry of Environment are implementing a project financed by the Global Environment Facility on natural resource valuation capacities. The goal of this project is the decision to meet and sustain global environmental obligation under the international agreements Guinea-Bissau has signed. Recently, a specific study has been developed, and it suggests to realize a set of GIS data. The most important should be a new land use map for the country. The only one existing digitalized land use map is the FAO land cover, but the scale and the legend are not adequate to local and subnational projects. Then, during the last years, many land use, land cover, vegetation, and ecosystem maps were realized for some specific areas of the country. For instance, natural reserves, parks, coastal zones, and mangroves. But each of them follows different protocols and legends, and this is a big issue for data interchange, also in for the management of natural resources. Official data on land use and ecosystem surfaces, land degradation, and ecosystem transformation are often aleatory and based on the opinion of experts and not on validated GIS data. This is a big problem because it represents barriers to address all the environmental issues related to land degradation and ecosystem conservation. A new land use map with some elements of ecosystem and vegetation could help and could support the implementation of environmental projects in many sectors, for instance, natural protected areas management and planning, forestry, biodiversity conservation, spatial planning, land degradation, agriculture, and some others. And this map could have give a significant contribution to the sustainable and inclusive development and growth of Guinea-Bissau. Many thanks.
Thanks, Mr. Cozzolino, to offering us a point of view on the usefulness to have modern management and monitoring system in geographic field. I would now to introduce Dr. Roberto Montagnetti, PhD archaeologist and president of UNAQuantum, donor of pilot project GeoPortal of Hargeisa. Thanks for participation, Dr. Montagnetti. Your association has made a commitment of supporting and sponsoring this pilot project for the realization of the GeoPortal of Hargeisa, starting from the city of Wajale. What are the main factors that motivated you to believe and invest in the project, with particular reference to the values and objectives of UNAQuantum? Finally, how much do you value the importance of the use of open source solution in this project and in the activity of the UNAQuantum Association?
Thank you, Valerio, to involve me in this meeting. I'm very proud to represent our association, UNAQuantum Inc. And yes, we are an association aimed to put in place cutting-edge technologies in support of the development of software for the cultural heritage. And we are pursuing these aims through the use of open source software and open source technologies. In fact, we strongly believe on the open source as a great way to exchange of ideas. Therefore,
over the years, we became a big community made of very different people from each other. And in the light of this, we reckon it was fair and right to share our skills and our expertise in support of this project called Map for Future. With this, we want to make a contribute to the growth and the development of problematic African communities such as Bajale in Somaliland. So yes, our effort is gonna be constant over these years to try to get better the life of the people of these places and people less lucky than us. Actually, I would like to take advantage to invite all of you to join us in UNAQuantum Inc. As I already said, we are a big community. It's a very great opportunity work all together, sharing different ideas and trying to develop a good solution for cultural heritage and in general for human project as in this case. So I would like to wind up, say thank you to Diplomacy Festival to brought us in this very important argument and to give us the opportunity to show off our aims and our project as an association. So thank you again and keep it up. And we will be waiting for you to join us in UNAQuantum Inc. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Montagnetti, for your intervention and for the investment of your UNAQuantum Association as a donor for the construction of the geoportal of Hargeisa. Our panel discussion ends here. As Map for Future Group, we hope to have given you a vision of the interventions in collaboration with the local actor of Hargeisa and on the potential of modern technological and IT tools in the field of geography in the cooperation worlds. We also want to thank the Mille co-working room for the technical and logistical contribution it has always offered to Map for Future project. We again express our thanks to the organizer of the Diplomacy 2020 for their kind hospitality. We take this opportunity to renew our good wishes for the sure success of this edition. Thanks to our participants for listening. Greetings to all.